It is wonderful to be back with some of our AmeriCorps alums to just give you a little bit more insight of what this work looks like on the ground. You know, as I was looking around, I was seeing some of the people that were here at the beginning stages, and I was thinking about some of those early conversations we were having before it was even a National Partnership for Student Success. And I just wanted to give some love. I know you're going to hear from Dr. Cindy Marten later. Joaquin Tamayo, my friend and colleague from the Obama administration, who was here in the early days. Mo, I always forget your last two names, Tracy Mooney. What's up, Mo? From the White House. Bob Balfance, I don't know if Bob is here. I didn't see your face from Hopkins. Ann Mora Connolly from City Year, and Tara Wallen from our team. And those were the people when we weren't quite sure. You know, partnership is never easy. Those were the ones who were pushing to make sure this happened. And so I just wanted to give some love to those co-conspirators who made this possible. So we are going to have a conversation with Miss Alexis Walls, who is the director of the executive office at Reading Partners and is a two-term Reading Partners AmeriCorps alum from the great city of New York. We are also going to talk to Jameer Jones, who is an employment specialist at the Academy of Hope Public Charter School. He is an AmeriCorps alum, did Youth Build Philly in 2015. My nephew's a Youth Build graduate, changed his life. So glad that you were there. Also a College Possible, Milwaukee alum from 2017. He liked it so nice, he did it twice. And he's been an alumni leader, both in Philly and with the Service Year Alliance. So that's who we're going to talk to this morning. So Alexis, let's go ahead and kick it off with you. So we like to talk about evidence, and evidence shows that academic success really hinges on having strong, supportive relationships between students and adults. And all young people need a trusted adult, sometimes that's not their parent, who cares. I know for me, the Boys and Girls Club made all the difference and provided me with a team of people that my mother wouldn't have had otherwise. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how AmeriCorps members focus on improving student well-being and what you see as the impact on this increased focus of on the whole child. Alexis.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I could speak for both Reading Partners, and I'm sure many folks in this space is, relationships, and particularly ones facilitated by our AmeriCorps members, are the cornerstone of our approach. And if we're not centering the whole student and their full selves and all the power within partnership and community and focusing on that with those relationships, I think it's of a disservice to our students. I look at AmeriCorps members, both, folks that are actively servicing alums who are now in staff positions with our organizations, as community connectors. They're folks that are focused on, I think there's a lot of pressure associated with, I think, especially in the academic space, you're focused on regaining months of lost learning, academic gains, benchmarks, all the different things that, are breathing down our necks to do best in best service of our students. And I think what can often get lost in the urgency and pressure of that is taking the time to slow down and prioritize relationship, prioritize connection, prioritize the power of all those within doing that with community, not for them, not to them. And I think that's the AmeriCorps members play a key role in that, because they're the folks that are coming in and they're saying, I hear all the noise from the school, from the organization, from home, all the pressures that's coming from every different direction, and saying, how can I prioritize the connection? How can I prioritize the relationship, both that AmeriCorps members have directly with the student? Yes, that's a part of it, but I look at our core members as facilitators for that with other folks. They're prioritizing, initiating those relationships from student to tutor, from student to core member, from strengthening student to other school support staff. I think our core members play a critical role, I guess, is what I would say, in facilitating all those different relationships from all the different angles.
That's really helpful. So what I hear you saying, it's about more than reading and math. We heard the secretary talk about 1 in 3 teenage girls is considered suicide. I think I heard a statistic recently that said 1 in 6 high school students have an active suicide plan right now. We know the Surgeon General has talked about this loneliness epidemic that we have right now. So what is your take on how these supports are helping address those crises that we're facing?
I think it's the social emotional element that's we're beginning to see, at Reading Partners. It's a priority integrated into all of our programming and as with other orgs. And I think the focusing on the social emotional element it's directly tackling that. It is taking the time to slow down and say, I'm focused on you as a whole being, not just your academic success, because we believe that your academic success, it's directly tied to your well-being. And it's, we could have data and academic gains off the charts that are showing one thing, but if it's not telling the whole story of the whole student and their whole being, we miss the mark on that. So I think, through AmeriCorps, through tutors, through mentorship, you have this group of folks that are in service of our students, but really focused on the whole student and the social emotional piece of it. So it is someone I'm not focused on necessarily say how your grades are shaking out or this, that, or the third. How are you? How am I both through indirectly just by being a person who's dedicated to showing up and sharing space with you every week. But on top of that as well, how can we integrate very specific and intentional, whether that's through lessons, whether that's through programming, you name it, different forms of outreach to really address those really harsh statistics that our students are facing, but in a way that's centered and really leaning into the power of community, because I do believe in the beauty of that and the healing power that's within that. And then I think when you have students that are held up in community, it makes grappling with suicide rates and ideation and things like that easier. It makes students that are feeling isolated due to the pandemic or things that were unveiled that during the pandemic, but that we were facing prior to. I think that one-on-one support really both directly and indirectly addresses all those, both in we could pull the data in really intentional ways of here's how we tackled this out in the third, but I think the higher level is you have, when I'm sitting, if I think about my service, or even as an alum who still interacts with students to this day, I'm sitting down and the child is my focus in this moment. And what the child needs from me is what the priority is that day. Hopefully we're gonna get to, in my context, say with reading partners, I'm hoping we're getting to a lesson. I'm hoping that we're making some progress with literacy, yes, but equal of the priority for me is that how are you today? What do you need from me today? And what can I consistently show up? And whether that's through direct support or just holding space for our students as well.
Beautifully said. How are you today? What do you need? We were with Governor Moore last week at the launch of his new service year initiative in Maryland. And we were sitting next to the crowds of the new members, and the governor opened up by saying, "You all are beautiful." And I watched these 18, 19, 20-year-olds blush, smile, sit up a little straighter, just thinking how important that is, that our children's souls need to be fed. So thank you for making that point. Jameer, let's go over to you. So you've worked with learners at all stages. You're working with adult learners now, you've worked with kids that are younger. And I wonder, when you think about preparing individuals for success after school, how do those needs differ or compare at the different stages in life?
So can you hear me? So I would say young kids, pretty much, they'll be back the next year, or if they're not back, they'll see AmeriCorps. They'll know about this is something I can do when I get older. Middle schoolers, early high school students, they still some time to grow up. They'll come back, or they'll have their parents kind of support them throughout their high school experience. When you get to what I specialize in is the young adults and the adult learners or students, they don't know what to do. We all were there. We were, high school graduates. And I think just a simple introduction of this is something that you can do when you finish here is always very helpful, along with alumni, as staff, as, people you may know, friends, families. AmeriCorps is a really big network. I've learned throughout my years. So running into people at work, running into people, downtown, is always a really, 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 really good connection. So bringing those people to a high school or a college or just somewhere in general, to say something like, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I did after I graduated high school. This is what I did after I finished Job Corps. This is what I did after I finished college. And it helped me, one, I got to help people. Two, it helped me grow as a person and as a professional. And here's how we did it. And it can do it for you as well. That kind of goes a long way. When I worked at Job Corps, I was, fresh out of AmeriCorps. I'm excited about, what I was doing. I was an employment specialist. And I reached back, right back to AmeriCorps for a program called Power Corps to bring them out to students as the next option when they finished their Job Corps experience. And I remember being excited, promoting Power Corps. And they came for an information session, and one student came, and I was just embarrassed. I was, just kind of disappointed. But a win is a win. We got one student involved with AmeriCorps when they finished. He loved it. His mom was happy. He, finished his AmeriCorps experience, began working full time. Later that year, kept reaching back out to Power Corps. After we did a project for a council member, I had another student who wanted to join Power Corps after she finished. And a little bit easier, got her in. She loved Power Corps. Then the year went on. I moved on from Job Corps, worked at my new employer. Similar work, just a different program. And we were invited last year to a career fair. And I kept seeing students that I worked with at this career fair. I'm like, what you doing here? What you doing here? What you doing here? And they all, it had to be like 10 to 12 people. And they all were saying, I'm here for Power Corps. And I was just like, Power, but when I left, like Power Corps kind of caught on from those two students who came back for a career panel and just said, like I said earlier, this is what I did when I finished. This is what I got to do. This is how it helped me. This is how it can help you as well. And it was just a really, really, really good moment. Funny story, Philadelphia is a small city. So at my new place of employment, students might know other students. And somehow the message kind of got mixed up to say, Jameer can help you change your life, which was kind of something that I would
say you should put that on a T-shirt, add it to your LinkedIn bio. That I would claim that strongly.
I would love to, but the thing was, as much as I felt, happy to get that reputation, I made sure to say, again, this is what I did. This is how it helped me. This is what I did helping people. This is how it can help you as well. And it kind of got to, spread that, clear up the rumor that I can change people's lives. So I can't do that. But also just spread that AmeriCorps message. And this was before the referral incentive that you can get for referring people to AmeriCorps. So that was just a little really, really, really bright moment for me and also for, students looking for that next step or support with that next step.
That's beautiful, Jameer. It makes me think of my faith tradition. There's a scripture, one man plants, another waters, and the increase comes from above. You never know when you're planting that seed what's going to happen, and it's so wonderful that you're already beginning to see how that's flourishing in so many lives. I wonder when you think about the work that you're doing and the supports that you're providing, what is different about service? As opposed to a job that you could be doing or doing it episodically once a week. What is it about that AmeriCorps service that helps the work that you do?
I would say the good thing about service is, so there was a point in time where, young people, or I was young and thought I knew everything. And wanted to do things my way and just wanted to, I could see like I could see the end game, I could see that finish line. The good thing about service is someone or a few people or a lot of people even will even let you know directly and indirectly that it's bigger than the end game. Like Alexis was saying, it's bigger than reading and math in some cases. We are here to help people. And I got that message a lot of times. People are not going to see what you see in the beginning, in the middle, sometimes not even in the end. But at the end of the day, you're here to help them with whatever help that they're requesting or whatever help that they may, not the help that you see that they need, not the help that you think they might need, the help that they need in the immediate, and then over time it might come to, a bigger situation that they might have trouble with. But there's always in the midst of all of the work, of all of the, whatever you got to go through, it's always going to be those moments and those periods where you're reminded that you're serving somebody else, even if it's just making a phone call, helping with the FAFSA form, helping with the job application, helping with, just getting them something to eat. You're always going to be reminded that, you're here to help somebody, you're serving people.
Service is the rent we pay for living on earth. So, we talk a lot about the selfless part of service, but what we're promoting at AmeriCorps is it's okay that service can be selfish too. And more we're seeing service becoming a career pathway where it's obviously helping people pay off their student loans, student loan forbearance, giving you a little money in your pocket. So we've got to get to that 250,000 mentors and coaches and student supports. So what would you both say to those that are still on the fence and are thinking about serving with AmeriCorps or becoming a part of National Partnership for Student Success? What would you say to someone who is thinking about serving? Alexis?
I love that question. I share with folks often when trying to evangelize them to the path to service, because, there's a lot of reason, as with anything in life, there's a lot of reasons to say no. And it's for any opportunity that you're facing, you can lean into that any day. That's the easy stuff. But I really push folks to pause and say, but what would need to be true for me to take advantage of an opportunity like this? And also reminding folks that I believe, both as an AmeriCorps alum, as someone in leadership at an organization that's fueled by AmeriCorps service, is are AmeriCorps members of service to our mission? Yes, but I believe as an alum and as an organization, we need to be of service to our core members as well. I'm where I am with my career and the gains that I've made because of folks that were committed to not only making sure my service was successful in support of our service, but how can they support me as someone who was giving my 1,700 hours and change? It's reminding folks that it's okay. I think in the nonprofit space, mission-oriented work, it can feel sometimes icky to make it transactional and to say what's in it for me. How can service benefit me beyond my Ed Award, beyond my, any perks that each random organization and state has. It's kind of taboo. We're like, oh, we don't want to talk about that. But I really like to hold space and conversation for folks to say is, how can your service year work for you? What are you looking for? What connections can you make? How can you hold your organization and those who are serving with you accountable to support life after AmeriCorps? A lot of people, I think, refer to AmeriCorps as a gap year. And I like to challenge that and say, for me, it was a bridge or a launching pad. It's a really key, pivotal moment for me that unlocked all sorts of doors and opportunities for me to be able to do the work that I do today. And I consider it as alum, to folks in this room, even if you're not an alum, it's how are you serving your core members? How are you creating pathways? And it can be, sometimes it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It's not about robust, programming and PD and all those things. Those are really important, but it's also how can if I look at even our cohort at Reading Partners, if I'm mentoring an AmeriCorps member for a year, what is your goal? If you're not doing a second year of service, which is, we start there, but, what is your goal post-service and how can I support you with that? And is that connecting you to people? Is that supporting you? Is it reading cover letters and resumes? Is it helping source jobs for you? Is it talking through, doing interview prep? Is it making connections where I'm not able to connect? And I think that level of intentionality is critical, and it's empowering AmeriCorps alum and organizations that utilize AmeriCorps members to really take that up. I consider that a responsibility and to take that seriously, not as just an afterthought of like, oh, let's sprinkle in PD, towards the end of the service year in May. Like, what does a real steadfast commitment to our core members' life after service look like? And then also, how do we empower potential AmeriCorps members how can we kind of shift that narrative and hold two truths at once of both service is all the things that we're talking about and that we'll hear about today and that we have heard about, but also here's what it is for you. Here's how you can talk about it in a way of like, here's how this can propel your career. Here's how this can, whether that's in education, in the field you're serving, and I think also it's critical we're reminding folks that I think there's a misconception that where you're serving, you can only really have a direct line to career support if you're, say, for example, my first year of service was directly working with schools in East Harlem and students. A lot of people, generally speaking, transition to being teachers, being in higher education, things like that. I did not want to teach. I went into my service year knowing that, and I had folks that I worked with who still, despite me not wanting to take that kind of stereotypical direct, oh, you served with students directly in a classroom, so you want to be a teacher, let's support you in that. I had folks that are saying, oh, so you want to get into development, you want to fundraise, you want to focus on systems, operations. I was really able to take both of my years of service and the connections that I made within and outside of my organization and really find a career path that was exactly what I wanted, but still in service of students, despite me not directly serving them every day.
I love that. And what we see with AmeriCorps is AmeriCorps recruits and applicants, they vote with their feet. And if your program that's working with AmeriCorps isn't thinking about the member experience, you're going to start having recruitment problems. I think you mentioned PowerCorps PHL in Philly. PowerCorps members each have 3 supports. They have someone that works on social emotional learning with them. They have someone that helps them with emergencies. Mom lost her job. Someone's dealing with an abuse situation. Someone can help work that out. And then they have someone that does career coaching. And so those things become even more important. So Jameer, take us home. What's your pitch?
Oh man, I think I learned at the AmeriCorps birthday party that Jay Ellis served AmeriCorps. So nothing else you can say. Hey, famous people serve AmeriCorps. I think a long time ago, I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard a rumor that I knew him as the Game of Thrones guy,
Yes.
but I heard he served the
George R.R. Martin is an
Yes.
AmeriCorps Vista alum.
And my mother loves, Game of Thrones. So I'm just like, you might be able to meet him. That's the celebrity part, the marketing or whatever. On the more serious note, AmeriCorps helped me. I didn't even know I was signing up for AmeriCorps when I signed up to work at Youth Build Charter School. And we're going through orientation, and they're talking about this and that, and then the education award. And I said, okay, I get money at the end of this. Sign me up. And I had a great experience. But I couldn't afford school like a lot of people. And that education award helped pay my tuition. Got to graduate, of course. And then that was the first way it helped me out. Next, after I graduated from university, I was supposed to get a job in China. Didn't get to go to China. I went to travel. Didn't get to do it. Wanted to get out of Philadelphia really bad. I grew up in Philadelphia, did everything in Philadelphia, enjoyed it, and which is ready for something new. I applied to work at or serve at College Possible. And I was just checking places on the application, like just send me anywhere. And I got selected to go to Milwaukee. And I didn't, it was a great experience. I love Milwaukee. If if anyone's here from Milwaukee, I love it. When I got there, my friend, I got on the train, got there. They gave me boots. I didn't, they gave me boots, they gave me clothes, everything to help me get on my feet. But then I talked to, one of the recruiters, and she said they fought to get me there. They fought to get me to come to Milwaukee. They needed, they saw my resume that they needed somebody to, help out, and I got to help. But more importantly, not more importantly, but more selfishly, I got to meet people who were just as passionate as helping others as I was. Some a little bit more, who also were better than me at the job that we were doing. And I got to grow as a professional, as well as a person as well. So AmeriCorps will help you with whatever you're looking to do. Go to school, pay for school. That was my third one was go to school. So the big thing, or one big thing, is that also there's a big network of what they call schools of national service, and these are schools, colleges, and universities. I think it might be some tech schools as well that partner with AmeriCorps, that support AmeriCorps alums specifically. So like, that's how I got in the school, after I finished, serving. They will, kind of, I don't want to say prefer,
No, that's right. There are more than 300 schools of national service. Dr. King actually just announced a big partnership with SUNY last week, which I hope he'll talk about when you hear from him later.
Thank you. Yep. So a lot of schools that and all over the country as well. So that you can go to, that you can consider, for whatever undergraduate or graduate after you finish your AmeriCorps experience. And then last, if nothing else, if you want to travel, there is an AmeriCorps program all over the country, even I think in Puerto Rico, if I'm not mistaken, and Triple C. If you want to, get some sun while you're helping people, whatever you're looking to do, AmeriCorps will help you, do, as well as, help you meet new people, and then ultimately help you grow in your career.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Let's hear for Jameer and Alexis. That's what AmeriCorps looks like.